All right, time is 6:59. I'm going to call the Windsor Township Planning Commission meeting to order. I need a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, a motion for approval of the minutes.
Make a motion.
First.
Aye.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That means you, Eric. There's nobody signed in on public comments. If you were going to speak and you're not on the agenda, that's what you would need to do. Is anyone interested in speaking that hasn't filled out the paper? Okay, perfect. Thank you all for coming. Number one on old business. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Snyder subdivision. Has Josh submitted something?
Here are plans.
Okay.
Here are plans to be signed and approved by the planning commission. Right? All
They're
of
to be
that is
approved and signed, or they're just to be signed?
Just to be signed.
Signed.
Yeah.
Signed.
They were approved quite a while ago.
Okay. Is that something we want to do at the end?
You can, whenever you want
Yeah.
to do it, but it had to be official, and here are the plans to be signed, and then at the next board meeting, it will go to the supervisors for them to sign it.
Gotcha. We don't need any motions or anything on that at all?
Yeah. A motion.
No, because it was approved.
It was recommended for
It
approval.
was recommended for approval, so the board will have to
Right.
move.
Right.
You just,
Right, we're just signing.
You're just
off on
signing the
something
plans.
that's- Yeah. All right, South Schuylkill Property Group, self-storage facility.
I will be reaching out to them about the improvements agreement. I'm just waiting for the township engineer to get me the cost estimate. I believe that there was some concern at the last meeting about some earth movement that was occurring there, and I believe that Craig had forwarded an email that discussed an investigation that was done based on an anonymous tip. They're not violating any rules, but they are moving some earth, but they're not moving so much that it constitutes a violation. Notwithstanding that, we want to, this was addressed at the board meeting last week, and we want to move forward with it and getting the improvements agreement done. But I don't think there's anything pending before this body.
All right. Raywell Real Estate. I don't see him here. Has anything progressed with that at all at this point? He was going for variances to the supervisors or not?
I believe he was supposed to go for variance, or I can't remember on that one.
I don't know if he actually did that.
I don't think he did. I mean, I think it stopped from where he was. Yeah, all he did was that south side with the apartment complex, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to skip over Blue Heron or?
We're the only ones that showed
Yeah,
up.
Blue Heron, you're up.
You don't want to put them after adjournment?
Yeah. Right.
Good evening, Rob Hain, Berks Surveying and Engineering. I'm here with Ivan Zimmerman to discuss some things with Blue Heron Village. You guys want, I got some plans here I can open up for you.
Right, good spot there. We can all look at them there.
I got two sets. That way, who wants the second set?
Sure. Yeah, one over there.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so previously we came in, I think it was 2022, and we got subdivision land development approval for lots on the north side of the lake, phases 1 and 2. In the part of the conditional use approval for this site, there was a bunch of requirements. One of them was that an HOA needs to be established. So we're working on getting that HOA set up and established, and part of that is to define where the existing lots are, because all the existing lots that pre-existed that subdivision planning approval that we did in 2022, back to when this resort community first started, however many years ago, 100 years ago. So as part of that, we looked at all the previous plans that we had for the property. There was Cowan Associates did plans back in the early 2000s. Carson Associates did plans in 2018, 2019, 2020. We took over in 2021, 2022 to do the subdivision land development planning. So what we're trying to do with these plans is to define the existing lots around the lake other than outside of that previous formal plan approval. So there was, like I said, there was several different plans, different layouts, so I think if we flip over to the next sheet, you get a better detailed view of what we have laid out here. So the Calhoun plans showed a 30-foot wide right-of-ways for the roads, and it showed, again, there was various different dimensions for the lots, depending on which plan you're looking at. So we went out and actually did some additional field locations of the roads and some of the structures to try and make sure that where the lot lines are gonna go wouldn't cause any encroachments with existing buildings or garages or anything else. So basically that's what you have before you here is a plan that shows a combination of all that information for a layout of lots. One of the concerns that Russell brought up when we were at the supervisors meeting last week was that one of the main conditions of that conditional use approval was that no new development, no new houses be built on the south side of the lake. As you can see, there's a bunch of lots here that not all of them have existing houses on them now. So we kind of wanted to just take this chance to speak with the planners to see, like, if there's any notion that, I think, again, I wasn't personally involved with the conditional use application. I do realize that the roads on the south side of the lake are narrow, so they won't support two-way traffic easily, and I think that was probably one of the main concerns for adding new houses on that side of the lake. But I just wanted to look at this while we're trying to finalize the layout of where the existing lots are to see if there's any latitude. I know Russell had suggested that we had to come back for a conditional use again to make any changes to this. So if we are now, if there's the possibility that if we do maybe one-way streets or something like that, that, any additional lots might be considered, or if it's just, if it's not something the township wants to see. Right now, I'm trying to look at, what you guys think to try and get some feedback before to shape our application as we move forward with the township.
So, just for some clarification, the conditional use opinion was entered back, I'm gonna say 21 or 22. I'm just trying to get to it. And the hearing was April 14th of 2021. And so the condition that Rob is referring to provides that those lots on the south side need to be deed restricted. And because there's a conditional use decision on this, the procedure for having that amended is to file a new application and go before the supervisors. Now, step one would be to come here for your recommendation, and then go to the supervisors for a hearing. I believe, and maybe Ivan knows, that there is, that an application was filed at one point for a conditional use revision, but I think I don't think it's gone anywhere.
That was with the thought of, instead of repairing, rebuilding the home, a few of the homes there and their undesirable location, was either requesting an amendment to relocate, rather build them next to it, a little more space between the homes.
Okay.
That's what that idea was. If we could incorporate these new lots as part of the already approved subdivision, that would be super. If we have to do the conditional use approach, then I think I'd like to look at both.
Okay. And so
I would consider rebuilding the houses, fixing them up right where they're at. It's just, it would be more desirable to have them spread out instead of just kind of all clustered on the side of the, where they're at. It's not as desirable, but if that's the way it has to go, we can do that as well. I would just like feedback on how complicated it would be to move them farther away from the neighboring houses instead of keeping where they're at, since we possibly, when they're building additional homes ever, we would kind of spread it out instead of having them kind of packed together.
And you're referring to the south side specifically? So, condition 8 provides that that you need to have deed restrictions, not to permit construction of any new dwellings, and not to permit place of any additional mobile or modular homes, and then there's construction activity is limited. So if you're looking at changing that, then you need to file a conditional use application
Okay.
to address that.
I guess, apologies for my ignorance, hoping you can help me out, but so Ivan was working with previous counsel that he's no longer associated with now for that application. Is there a way to check on what the current status of it, if that's open, if we can modify it, or if we'd have to withdraw it, or whatever? We just want to make sure that
I think that
everything's in order.
I think the cleanest thing would be to withdraw it and start new.
Okay.
Because that was, it's been at least a year on that, so I think it would probably be best to withdraw it. The person to check with is Craig. I'm sure he doesn't know offhand, but he could probably check for you. My recollection is there was also a variance application around the same time. I think prior council wasn't sure which avenue to go down. So I think I recall being at a variance hearing, and it was held in abeyance. I recall, wasn't that Mr. Elliker who represented you?
Okay, yeah, I did actually forget that. So yeah, Elliger had come in and said, no, don't do the conditional use, that's the wrong approach. So we did have a conditional use application that we dropped due to his recommendation, and then, yeah, I forgot about that. So he's sitting there, and then we took his approach of the variance, and then decided that that's not a good option for what he was going for either. So I guess that was a while back. So I guess drop that.
Yeah.
We're not pursuing those. That's kind of thing we're not pursuing. So probably drop it and just have this clean new.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, so, based on your recommendations, Craig will probably follow up with you at some point to just see where things are at. But if both of those applications are still open, we'll take care of formally withdrawing them.
You can get that stuff through the applications
Mhm.
for that
Just-
zoning officer.
Okay.
you can email your own.
Okay.
And you really just need a letter to the zoning hearing board and to the board of supervisors just withdrawing these applications. So
Okay.
anything more than
How many houses are on the south side?
Currently, apologies, I don't have that number.
13?
So you're looking
Looks
at
like.
Roughly on the top
I
of my
counted
head,
the
but
last
that
time,
sounds
assuming it's
about
13.
right.
So there's a,
I mean, the reason for not allowing building on that side was for multiple reasons, but the main one being access, which you've already mentioned.
right.
With there being 13 houses on the south side, I mean, I don't know what the formal process is to go through. I wouldn't be opposed to him spreading them out so that they're more functional on that side, but adding more residences, I think, is pushing it, since we're doing 100 and however many on the other side. But again, I don't know what the formal approval is, but you're looking for either spreading these out or putting more in. That's
My main goal would just be deal with what was already approved of repairing what's there, but rather than repairing what's there, removing them, so that would be
Yeah.
option one.
Yeah.
Not adding more structures, but relocating what's there instead of rebuilding where they were.
Is there a reason to be opposed to that? I mean, he's gonna make it better, and it's gonna all have to comply with new regulations, so you're gonna end up with new footers and new foundations and new structures versus an old one that's rehabbed.
I'm fine if the only thing that he's gonna need is because of the slow percentage is soils engineering. So if you're gonna start from the beginning, we've already talked about, I'll need soils engineering on all footings.
And you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Well, and he would still, because of the language in here, he would still need to
Yeah,
file
yeah,
a
right,
conditional
right,
use
right, yeah.
application.
Yeah, I don't know what that process is. I'm just giving you an opinion over here. Would the goal, when you're done, be to pave the road?
That would be the end goal, but I'd rather not have that as part of, like, if that would have to be a requirement for relocating it. I don't wanna go that direction because 3 homes are not gonna pay for that cost.
Sure.
I think if we were talking about paving it and widening it and making it a one-way and a curve that a fire truck can do the whole loop, that's a whole different game. I wouldn't be opposed to that, but that's a whole different
Yeah.
scope. You have to build at least 10 new homes to be able to, you know, pay for paving and all that.
I would say if you expanded, if you
Yeah.
ended up going with more houses, that's
Yeah.
the route you'd have to go. But if you're just moving houses, it's already existing.
This
We're
is all,
just-
this is all serviced by the existing sewer system?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know what the formal process is, that's more of a Russell question. But as far as adding more houses, I think you're kinda SOL. But if you wanna move them around and bring them to code, I mean, I think that's a good move for you and us. Rob has to file that the appropriate way, I guess.
It is.
Which then I'm assuming all these lot lines are gonna change because you're gonna move where they're going and not have all these lots.
Well, yeah, I mean, so some of the lots, like, you know, obviously right now, there's a number of lots that
Yeah.
don't have houses on them now.
They're gonna
So-
get combined.
So they're gonna get combined or moved or whatever, because like you said, like, Ivan was saying, you know, a lot of these are really like stacked on top of each other down here, so it might be nice to just, instead of having all these lots, you just spread them out a little more evenly, and then you have, I mean, not all the, I guess that's the other question I'm gonna say, is like, these lots are not all compliant right now. They're not the minimum 6,000 square feet. The setback off of the road does not comply because there just isn't enough depth between South Shore Drive and the lake to build houses within setbacks there, just because, again, the physical limitations of where the road is and where the lake is, there just isn't enough space. So, part of this is just trying to do the best we can with what's out there, you know, if, I guess, if we are modifying the lots, would they have to become compliant then, or would we have to just show?
I mean, you're pretty close on the square footage for most of them,
For most of them, yes.
the ones that have houses on them.
Right, so that's one of the things that we did when we were looking at this. As I said, there was a bunch of, the Cowan plans from early 2000, like, maximized lots across the whole.
Yeah, right.
Like, they tried to do as many lots as they possibly could, and then the Tarson plan was something else, and when we looked at this, we tried to make the lots as close to compliant as much as possible here. Again, within, allowing for the restrictions of where existing houses are, and you can't move lot lines, you know, too far. You wanna try and center them in between existing houses, so.
There's only one way in and out of this place, right?
Right, it's
Yeah.
all coming across the
Dam.
dam for us
Yeah.
to come over there.
Is that a long-term problem driving across there?
As far as,
Like wear and tear on the dam driving across the top of it?
that's a structural concrete, just like any bridge.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you're okay with moving them around, as far as setbacks from the road, if it's a private road in a private community, are we able to make an exception for setbacks on the road? Since you can't meet it based on where the lake is?
You do the variance.
So then we do a variance, for any new ones. So I guess, if we're building on an old foundation, that eliminates the need for a variance because it's
That-
an existing
That
non.
does, I mean, if you're, and the language in here does allow you to reconstruct on the same footprint
Right.
without needing to go back through the conditional use process.
But if you wanna move them around,
But if
then-
you wanna move them, they're not gonna be the same footprint. So then you're gonna need approval.
Does that work for you?
So what about, so it's different, 2 different things we're looking at. So what about the incorporating the existing house lots to the already approved subdivision? Is the easiest to do that totally separately, or can it be included, added in? Like, what's the process of, if we could go back, what should have been done is all the surveying done right at the beginning with everything, but unfortunately that wasn't done. We didn't have lot lines. We have them now. What's the easiest way to incorporate the existing homes into the phase 1 and phase 2 that's already been approved and subdivided? as far as.
If I can weigh in, can everybody hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, I think, first of all, I tend to agree with Josh. You know, if we're talking about, you know, keeping the same amount of units on that side and basically just kind of relocating them to make them more spread out, I agree. I think that makes sense, provided that, you know, any relocated units are, you know, on, you know, these kind of so-called lots that are, you know, they are accessible. You know, I remember reviewing this plan first about 20 years ago. And, you know, yeah, some of the roads out there weren't really roads, they were more like paths. So, I mean, you know, I would need to see where the houses are going, you know, but I generally, I support that concept. The second thing is, okay, well, if we're relocating, you know, even if you can get your conditional use to change that condition, you know, you still have the, you know, the zoning, the potential zoning issues with setbacks and whatnot. But again, I think generally, you know, that can be sorted out, you know, if we're just keeping the same number of units. As far as how we proceed from here, if that condition is, that revision to that condition is approved, I kind of think that, you know, it'd be best from an administrative standpoint, probably to treat this as like an entirely separate phase, rather than trying to amend what's already, you know, what's already kind of in the pipeline. You know, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here that I think just a separate phase is probably going to be the best way to handle it, because it sounds like this might move kind of at a different pace than maybe the other phases will on the north side. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Steve. I think kind of what Ivan was alluding to is that, you know, right now we're trying to get the HOA established, but part of that is to figure out where the limit of these lots is. So he may want to consider getting the HOA established with where the current lots are now, and try to see if there's a vehicle to get those lots established, like to have a plan, you know, such as this that has meets and bounds dimensions for those lots. And then I'm not saying he's not going to apply for a conditional use now. I'm just saying if there's a possibility we can get the HOA done to come into compliance with the condition that was in the conditional use from 2021, that's overdue, and provide these deed restrictions. Like, is there a vehicle that we could just say, we'll scrap the ideas of moving anything and creating any new lots? Is there a vehicle to establish a plan, like, you know, to record a plan that just shows the existing lots without going through formal subdivision planning like it's a different phase? Because these lots technically do exist, they just don't have proper meets and bounds dimensions because they were never established by a plan.
the plans that you brought before were grayed out over on this side, right? Because there was no building happening. Did it still show, it still showed lot lines though?
It was only
It still
the
showed lot
phase,
lines, so
yeah.
yeah, those lot lines were, as I said, Tarson was the previous.
Which is what these are?
It's a collaboration, like I said, we looked at those lot lines. Some of those lot lines actually, when we went out and located existing structures, the lot lines were actually touching existing structures. So they hadn't done a full survey of the existing features to ensure that where the lot lines weren't creating an issue with the existing buildings. So.
Yeah, I think, Rob, I'm sorry to cut you off. One of the big issues when I first reviewed this plan years ago was, you know, kind of the characterization of these lots as lots. Were they really lots? Because I think that Cowan plan, and even before that, I think there was a plan from, it might have been Mast, that was, you know, decades old. But I don't think there was ever a plan that was recorded that established those lots on the south side. Now, whether or not there was, you know, I do, you know, the Cowan plan was a recreation of that original plan that, like I said, I think was Mast or maybe Motley, you know, kind of recreated those lots. But, you know, those lots might have been leased out, you know, per those meets and bounds on that plan. But again, I I don't think that original plan was ever recorded, so, you know, we're calling them lots, but are they really lots? You know, and if we're moving, you know, it's one thing if you're rebuilding on an old foundation, you know, that's different than, you know, kind of relocating it to another area that we're saying, well, you know, this is an existing lot based on this old plan that was never recorded. You know, like I said, though, generally, I'm on board with kind of what the idea is if we're keeping the same amount of units on the south side. But I'm reluctant to say that we can do that without having to record a plan for whatever is being proposed on the south side. And maybe you're not disagreeing with me, Rob, but again, that's just kind of my thoughts.
No, I appreciate that, and I agree that we want to have a plan of record because it makes it cleaner for any permitting and anything else that goes down the road. We're just hoping to avoid having to go through formal planning with the subdivision, with the planning commission and the supervisors, for some of these lots that are existing layouts that are non-compliant, and then do we need to get variances for existing non-conformities that are already there that we're just trying to essentially clean things up. So we're trying to see if there's a path that doesn't require us to go through planning to kind of leave things as they are and satisfy, you know, if we were to just not do any new development except for rebuilding on existing foundations, is there a vehicle to establish a plan of record that doesn't require us to jump through all the normal zoning hoops of a new subdivision because these houses and.
Are you talking about, I'm sorry to cut you off, are you talking about the south side still, or are you talking?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
on the south side, so if you're rebuilding these houses on the same foundation, you already have approval for that, you don't need to.
He has approval for that, but what he's saying is the lot lines on that plan that we approved were not what these are. And so these are the lot lines that they want, which are more feasible based on where the structures currently exist. So they ultimately want to amend the plan that is approved, just adjusting the lot lines so that they're not up against structures. Am I understanding where you're at?
Yeah.
Not that they're changing the amount of lots or the size of lots, they're just moving the lines to be more conducive to where they're not hitting the buildings.
Well, I think that.
Josh, I don't think that there was never a plan approved for the south side.
But the plan had the south side on it, I just don't know how detailed it was.
It was this view. So I mean, you basically had this view with these lines. That's essentially what you saw on the plan that we recorded for phase one and phase
There's a
two.
very old record, I don't know if it's helpful, but there's a very old recorded, in the courthouse, a very old recorded plan showing the Cohen's lots, but like Rob said, they weren't totally perfect, so this makes them bigger, better, less congested, but yeah, there's an old Cohen plan that's recorded in the courthouse. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
I think that if you're looking at just amending the dimensions, essentially, I think that's a matter of I think you do need to present that to the planning commission, and you do need to get that amended plan approved. I don't know that that necessarily requires going through another conditional use, because there's no use change. All you're doing is really dimensional cleaning up.
Right.
And I would support that, because I think having a good plan of record is going to help going forward. And I would encourage you to do that before you start trying to make other changes, or asking for other amendments. I think that at least then we're starting from the same base.
Well, that's kind of why one of the things that it was on our list to discuss tonight, that if there's because again, if there's an easier way to do that, to get through that, then if Ivan wants to look at modifying lots or moving anything down the road, like, once we have everything recorded, the HOA can be established, and then essentially everything's in compliance the way it is now.
And I want to make sure, we want to get that HOA established. I mean, it should have been established 4 years ago. So, I understand, some of the limitations here, but, that needs to be done. Can you confirm that the conditions with regard to the campsites have been complied with on the plans, and that essentially requires, that the limitation, that campground area is limited to 8 campsites per acre, and no more than 40% of the development area shall be dedicated to campground facilities.
Yeah, we're well below those.
Yeah.
I thought you were, I just want to make sure,
So here's a plan that shows the RV sites.
Is that in here somewhere?
That was a different part of the, that was a separate plan that we did for this. But figured I'd bring it along because I thought.
Aren't you glad you did?
Right. I wanted to make sure if any questions came up.
You could answer them.
So that we could answer them. So, yes, to my knowledge, I haven't gone over these myself with a fine tooth comb, but
Yeah.
when this plan was made, I don't know, that was like a year ago or something, one of our staff had gone over
Okay.
the recreational ordinance as well as the conditional use and said that we should be in compliance there.
okay. And then, well, and, we've talked about this, we also need the deed restricted deeds recorded and copies to us.
So, I mean, essentially, there's one deed for this property now. I mean, I guess another question was like, whether or not lots get sold off individually. Because, I mean, like, most of them now, it's all lease agreements.
I understand.
So, like, if one of those lots on the south side would get sold off, that would have to have that deed restriction that says that they, any future development must comply with the conditions of that conditional use decision. That says it
Right, so
can be
it
developed.
may be as simple as just having Ivan doing a new deed to himself and
Right.
adding that condition, essentially just
Just
conditioning on
Just
compliance.
adding that language into
Yeah.
the deed that says, referencing the conditional use decision and all the restrictions therein.
Right,
Right.
right.
Okay. I mean, I guess as far as, since we sort of brought that up, as far as fee simple sale of lots here, is there any other concerns that we need to look at if any of these lots are gonna get sold off? Like, again, I'm still looking at this like, having that record plan would be, or for these lots on the south side would be very beneficial for, again, having something to show the specific meets and bounds dimensions.
Well, I think you need that plan of record if you're going to start selling off individual lots, because otherwise you don't have a recorded meets and bounds description.
Right.
You're selling off lots with houses on them or vacant ones? Or all the above?
At this point, when we're talking about the south side, I mean, we're not looking at selling off lots with no houses on because again, you can't build any new houses over there now. So, we essentially, my thought right now, my question is basically selling off, one of these lots that currently has a house on. If the potential buyer wants to own it in fee simple ownership as opposed to a lease area, just wanted to discuss that with the township to see if there was any specific concerns that need to be addressed so that we make sure, again, as we're going forward with planning on this, that we make sure that everything is in order.
Is there something that needs to be drawn up for like a sewer agreement to use the essentially public sewer of the Crispin Lake? And then is this considered a shared driveway technically? Because it's owned by Ivan and it's not owned by the state, so then there's gonna be some kind of,
Private road right away or something.
Yeah.
like that.
Wouldn't the HOA kind of
Well,
cover
the
all of
HOA
that?
would
Wouldn't
cover
Yeah, the HOA should cover, which is another reason why we're trying to get.
It's the chicken or the egg situation. So the HOA would own the roads and the improvements and whatnot, and that would essentially give the individual lot owners essentially an easement to access that because they'd be members of the association.
The only part I don't, know yet, I would need to talk to the HOA attorney, like what it looks like to incorporate existing tenants. Let's say existing tenants say they don't want to be part of HOA, I don't know how that looks. But I think it should be the option for everyone to be part of it. I think it should be encouraged. I think that's the whole idea of an HOA, but I don't know how that works.
so if we're requiring an HOA be in place, are we forcing the existing tenants to be part of that HOA? Like, how does that work?
Well, the ordinance requires that HOA to be in existence for the use that you
Right,
receive conditional
but it
use.
doesn't require the tenants to be part of the HOA that are existing?
I think that that's a problem that he has to resolve.
Right.
I think that if they're tenants,
I mean, under normal circumstances, if I buy a condo and I rent it to you, I'm responsible for the HOA fee as the owner.
yeah.
And the tenant can either pay it because I make it a part of their lease, or I pay it.
Right, the owner, the owner is the one who has to essentially be a part of the HOA.
Right.
But I think this is a hybrid situation where you have these people who own the structure, but they don't own the real estate that the structure sits on.
Right, but Ivan's gonna wanna know if he needs to pay 130 HOA fees or not. I think that's.
Well, no, I think the easy thing is the existing tenants, if you're already paying a land lease of over the minimum amount, I think the way it's gonna work is nothing changes on their end, it's just a portion of that goes to the HOA.
Right.
But I do think they would have to ultimately, if they don't sign the HOA agreement, then it's kind of a void.
But you're the owner of the property, so you're technically signing the HOA agreement.
They don't necessarily need to sign the agreement, it's a declaration that's recorded and essentially becomes an easement against the real estate. I don't know that they necessarily need to go and sign, each
Okay.
one of them needs to sign, but I would check with your HOA attorney.
On something like that, though, like, to be fair, like, the Cursor Creek, they had to pave all that, that's an HOA, so then he almost had to pave all this. What would be the difference?
So the HOA is the one that makes the decision what gets done and how much money they
But the
have.
township made them pave that.
Well,
Township was behind Cursor Creek to pave all that.
that was part of their
Yeah.
plan though,
Yeah.
that was approved.
That was a requirement when they were done building all those houses.
I have sections that I'm required.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was land development.
Okay.
So that's kind of what we were talking about in the beginning, was like, if we're gonna add more houses to the south side, then road improvements would be
Then you'd have to pave it.
absolutely
Then you'd have to
necessary,
pave it.
because right now,
How wide is it? How wide is the road?
it's variable. Some places it's up to 20 feet wide, and other places it's down to 14 feet wide. So I mean, it depends on where you're at.
Any additional houses on that south side needs to be approved by the fire chief and for anything for him getting up and down.
Well, right, that's, we're not approving additional.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's in
I
general.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But
That's it.
one of the questions that we came to ask was, like, what, if we are gonna look at trying to, because again, all of these plans show all these existing lots, not necessarily all of them having houses on, so if we're gonna do the HOA, and, if those lots aren't going to exist, the next plan that we submit most likely is gonna just omit those lots, and then our HOA is gonna just go around the lots that will be there, or the ones that have existing houses on them.
Lot more recreational space, I guess. Or they get added to another lot. and-
Correct, I mean, you could make bigger lots, or they could be just
Parking.
open space.
To get keep cars parking
Yeah.
for some of these houses,
It's possible.
so you're not blocking the access.
Pickleball courts, it's the answer to everything.
That's what I thought, but then one of the tenants said, please don't build them, they're very annoying, there's just bang, bang, bang sounds all night long, so.
Never played. Anything else?
At this point, I think that covers all the questions I have, so I mean, essentially, we're looking at if we're gonna move forward with any kind of plan, it would be a formal plan submission. So if we wanna make a plan of record, even with just the existing houses, that would be a formal plan submission. If we're gonna do any changes as far as moving houses, that would be a conditional use. But if we just wanna sort of straighten out lines to clarify things, that could just be a regular, like an amendment to the previous plan of record, or something to that effect.
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
I would like to do that and get the HOA done, just to get that off checklist, and then if we want to pursue something else in the future, that would be the conditional use.
Thank you very much. The time.
All right, thank you. Trees back with it.
This could be a lot worse.
What's that?
This could be a lot worse.
Oh, yeah. Anything else, Ivan?
Another 200.
Speak now or hold your peace for another 60 days.
No, that's a,
All right, any new business that's not already on here?
You had, Ryan, you want to talk about that email you got about the solar application?
Oh, I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I received an email about the group that was talking about doing a solar project, but I told them what needed to be done was submit a sketch plan and, come before the board and submit it prior so we can review it. And I think they said something that they were gonna talk, maybe possibly coming tonight, but I don't, anyone here from? Oh,
You are.
oh, there you go.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna introduce myself before, but I I was talking to landowner, Mr. Robles, but I came here like literally a minute before you guys started, so I didn't have a chance. But it's very like preliminary, nothing official at all. I just wanted to introduce myself and say that I'm from ESA and that we're a very small company, about 50 people, and other projects, he got it. It's about down the street, 5 minutes, so,
Windsor Castle?
yeah,
correct?
yes, yeah, so.
How many solar panels is,
5 acres, right?
it's a
If-
5
yeah,
acre
it'd be about
project?
right,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
relatively
it's
small.
a very small project, yeah.
He sent me plans, everything, but as I said, if we wanna move forward, we'll submit the application and go forward for the next, like, BC meeting.
Yeah, of course, they just wanted me to
Yep.
come over here and, you know, say hi to everybody, and I live about an hour and a half away from here, so I just wanted to come over and say hi.
Thank you.
Well, this will also would also require conditional use.
Correct.
All right, any other planning commission concerns? Take that as a no. Motion for adjournment.
Second.
First and a second, and everyone is in favor.
All right.
Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for coming out.
Take care, guys.
See you, Steve.
Yes, Dave.